Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of With All Due Respect. We are your hosts. I'm Ryan Shead. That's Marcus Flowers. Brother, how are you doing?
Oh man, as always, I'm good. Thanks for being here with us today, everybody.
Yeah.
I think we've got an interesting show today, Ryan.
We do. But real quick, how was your trip to DC?
My trip to DC was good. I went to the annual leadership conference put on by the Congressional Black Caucus. I got to sit down with a few members, have some conversations about the path forward and winning back the House, which is so important in this cycle. I mean,
it's essential.
And it's essential that Democrats went back to the House. I mean, and we're, there's a lot of people out there wanting to do the work. It was good to see how many people actually showed up for the conference, and we got to talk with a lot of not only corporations and businesses who are interested in helping out the Democratic Party, but people from all over the country who are, just worried about where we are right now and pressing our leadership to, do what it is that we need to do to get back the House, coming together, just a whole melding of ideas that, we need to push the party forward. So I had a good time, had a lot of great conversations, and, cleared up a lot of things for me as far as the lanes that I need to be in to ensure that we take back the House and at least have our hands on at least one lever of power, get some.
I like that. We all have our role to play right now.
Exactly.
I like that. But speaking of good conversations, we want to introduce you to April Ajoy, who has agreed to come on and speak with us about her exit from Christian nationalism. And I personally found it interesting that the dots we can connect between her experiences and a lot of what our country is going through right now. So, April, thank you so much for joining us here on With All Due Respect. Really appreciate you making the time.
Well, I am excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those who might not know, April Ajoy is a content creator and podcast host, much like ourselves, who uses humor to shine light on harmful, toxic, and sometimes just weird traits of American evangelism. So after growing up as a kid entrenched in Christian nationalism, working in conservative Christian media, she saw the harm caused firsthand. So what I loved about you is that you haven't abandoned faith, the same faith that we have. You've just walked away from a particular sect of it. And that's the thing that I'm most interested in digging into today. And Marcus apparently had to go somewhere. But April's been featured on BuzzFeed, CNN, Newsweek. So she's all over the place, which is why we're so happy she made some time. So, and she's also written a book. So it's Star Spangled Jesus, right?
Yep, that's the one.
So we'll have her show it to you before we get off the air. But so as you can see, she is the perfect person for us to have this conversation with today. So Marcus, you wanna get us started off, brother?
I do, as long as my internet holds up. Being out here in rural Georgia, it ain't the best, but hey, we do what we can. That's one of my other topics that I talk about all the time. Internet coverage in rural areas. But April, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is I want you to kind of tell us a little bit about how you came up, like me and Ryan, I'm sure, in a Christian household. And, when was it that you kind of realized that you were or had fallen into Christian nationalism and it wasn't the teachings of Jesus that you had thought? I want you to kind of give us a little
I'll give you the
later
Cliff
on that
Notes
happened to you.
version.
I know how it happened with me. Not that
Yeah.
I was a Christian nationalist, but
Sure. Well, let me get the Christian nationalist receipts out of the way first. So I was raised very conservative Christian. My dad and my grandfather were Pentecostal preachers. So I was a PK, preacher's kid. And so we traveled all over the world. I was homeschooled. My dad would preach in different churches all over the world, all over the country. We'd travel in a bus when I was in high school. That bus had America Say Jesus written all over it because it was an America Say Jesus caravan. And the point of that was to try to make America a Christian nation. Because we believed, and I had been taught that America was founded as a Christian nation and that God had supernaturally blessed America through all of our wars and endeavors. And that when bad things happened to America, it was because we had allowed, quote unquote, sin in, which really just meant abortion and gay people. And so by allowing that, that was why we had things like 9/11 and Hurricane Katrina, because God was just lifting his veil of protection over our country. And so in order to get America back in God's good graces, we needed to elect good Christian Republican men. We needed to put God back in schools. And, which is a lot of the things that we're actually seeing come to fruition
right now
today were things that we had been striving for like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. I guess probably my most like Christian nationalist thing that I did was I also wrote a song also called America Say Jesus, and I sang it on the Jim Bakker show when I was 18. So that was fun.
Do you wish the internet would just like forget that?
I mean, yes and no. I like it honestly works really well because I get accused a lot because I'm very openly progressive and like I'm still Christian, but just very progressive and inclusive and queer affirming and all of that now. And so I get accused of lying about my conservative past.
You're like, oh no.
And so like it's really just the perfect like, oh, who's lying now?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my background. I also worked for CBN. Pat Robertson 700 Club. I actually went to Pat Robertson's university for grad school. That's where I met my spouse. So lots of Christian nationalist background. But I do think it's important to note that during that time of my life, I would not have said I was a Christian nationalist. Right. I would have just said I was being a good Christian.
Yep.
Like I was the true Christian because I was just doing what my pastor had told me, what my teachers had told me. Exactly. So it actually wasn't until I had kind of started, I think the word's deconstructed now, but when I started questioning certain aspects of my beliefs, it had been a few years before I realized in hindsight, like, oh, no, I was a Christian nationalist.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
Can I ask, not to get, too deep in your spouse's info, but did he kind of leave with you, or is he still? So,
yes. So my spouse, I actually came out non-binary a few years ago, which was so they had always that's like a whole other part of the story.
Is it in the book?
It is in the book.
There you go. That's why we need to read the book.
I kept the queer stuff towards the end because my goal when writing it was to kind of show how awful I used to be and kind of hold up a mirror to people, and then like they could see themselves in me. And so it's less like pointing the fingers to be like, you're wrong. And you like,
it's almost self-deprecating in a way.
Yeah. But it is in there. So anyway, so they were dealing with gender dysphoria pretty much our entire relationship, although we didn't know what that was. We just thought it was a demon because that's what I grew up Pentecostal. Anything that wasn't cis, heterosexual was demonic.
Mental health, same way.
Yeah, exactly. Anxiety is just a couple demons. You got to cast that out. But thankfully they're right on the same page with me. Still Christians. We go to church together.
Nice.
And, just progressive now.
That actually makes me want to read your book even more. So
absolutely.
It does. So that's amazing.
One of the things, if you don't mind.
No, go.
I kind of led with this a little bit. When I was a kid growing up, I spent time in foster care and
I didn't know
my
that.
family went through some tough times. So I got to see church in several different ways, where I would go to a white church sometimes and I'd go to a black church sometimes. I was accepted in all of them. But as I kind of grew older, I mean, this from the ages of 10 or 11 to 18, I kind of bounced back and forth between different churches, Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian churches. I went to church with everybody in the community, and everybody accepted that because they all knew me. So if you know me, that's what I did.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I started seeing how scripture was used differently in the churches.
Mhm.
And it started making me wonder, why is that? Now, I'm talking about back in the 90s. It wasn't as bad as it is now with, straight politics in, hearing that in the church, which I've gone to.
I don't remember
churches.
hearing politics preached from the pulpit. I just don't.
Not politics, but certain things in the way you went at certain, individuals, or
Kind of in a veiled way, maybe.
In a veiled
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
But in my adult life, in the last 10 years, as a politician, I've also gone to several different churches. And I can still see that difference now, but it is more pointed. I can see and point out politics coming from the pulpit. And
would you say it's like coded language almost?
It's that coded language, I think, because I think people have been conditioned to, whether you listen to Fox News, Newsmax, or OAN, you've been conditioned to know who you're talking about when you use the words like they versus us. So it's them, the radical Democrats and the left and the liberals, and
we all know who we're talking about.
They're all mixed into one. And you could kind of see a little bit of that back in the 90s, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it. Also, I was a kid at the time. But now, in the era of Trump, let's say, in the era of MAGA, that is coming out of the pulpit. So one of the things I wanted to say when I'm trying to wrap this up is you grew up around these people in your church. These are people that you love, your parents, your family, your wider family, your community, your pastor, your preacher, whoever, members of the church. These are people you love that you've gotten information from. And it's hard to let go of that, I think. And people need to understand that is a hard thing to walk away from when people that you trust and love have taught you this growing up. So April, I want you to talk about, how hard that was for you and what you did to kind of say what brought you to the moment. Says I got to walk away from this. This isn't the teachings of Jesus. These aren't the red letters in the Bible that we're talking about. This feels like politics.
And if I can add on to that, can you also talk about how has there been any correlation between walking away from this movement and ending up having to walk away from relationships in your life because of it?
Yeah, great question. So I think that it is a struggle. I mean, we definitely it's really hard. And I think it's easy for people who didn't grow up in this world, who are kind of from the outside, maybe didn't grow up religious too. You can look at them and be like, wow, you're just so stupid. How do you not see the clear hypocrisy of it? But you are conditioned, especially if you're raised in it. It's almost it's an indoctrination.
You're groomed into it.
And you are taught very shallow talking points that basically you can spout them when people bring up these points, and it's just enough to kind of keep the doubts at bay. And you are so insulated into that world that you have every reason to not question your thoughts and your beliefs.
Because nobody around you is.
Right. And if you do, you are gently and sometimes, very aggressively called out and say like, no, we don't ask questions. Like too many questions leads to doubt. And the fear of hell is kind of the eventual fallback. Like if you ask too many questions, one day you're going to wake up an atheist and you're going to die and go to hell. So you're like, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you just keep it. And then when everyone around you is saying the same thing so confidently, you're like, okay, I don't have a reason to question that. And if I do question that, that's just going to cause a rift in my family and my relationships. And especially if your livelihood is wrapped up in those beliefs, where you could lose everything. Like my spouse actually worked they were a professor at a very conservative Christian university when they came out. So obviously they could not work there. anymore.
Oh,
So we
wow.
lost our livelihood. We lost a lot of those relationships. And they really had no theological reason for, and especially on the war against trans issues right now, there really is no biblical basis for that. They have very cherry-picked Bible verses that they use. And even still, they have all
Misinterpreted.
convinced themselves that it's just the straight abomination. And do you know what I mean? And so they like couldn't keep, like, we were suddenly tarnished. Like we couldn't be the same people despite us being the same people. And our relationship with God and praying and fasting was what led us to a queer affirming position too.
Enlightened you, yeah.
But that goes against everything they've been taught, and it goes against every like their what pays the bills. So they have to demonize us. They can't listen to us because then their job is at stake and their families are at stake. So yes, we've definitely paid the price. Thankfully, so not thankfully for this, but my dad, who was very conservative, when he passed away in 2011, so before all of the Trump stuff. Thank you. It was from cancer, and honestly, that was probably the first thing that had me start questioning things.
Same with me.
Yeah, like, so when you are a Christian nationalist, your political ideology is so intertwined with your theology that once you question one, the other is vulnerable. So I immediately started questioning.
Domino effect.
Yeah, exactly. So my first questioning was actually about my Pentecostal beliefs, because I believed my dad would be healed of cancer, and he was not. So I was like, okay, well, obviously the whole idea of like, as long as you have enough faith, God will give you what you want is not true, because I could not have had more faith. And so I became vulnerable immediately. So it was kind of a decade of slowly little things just making less and less sense. But I kept them to myself for a while because I didn't want to be the Jezebel. I already got red hair, you know? So, yeah. And then I guess Donald Trump was really the Trump card, pun intended, because I was a child of the 90s as well.
Yeah.
And my dad was always very political, and we had great discussions about politics, and we were on the same side. Like my dad was my hero. And I remember during the whole Bill Clinton scandal,
there you go.
It was grilled into my brain. Republicans care about morals and character matters.
There you
and
go.
If he would lie to his wife, how much worse would he do to the American people?
How dare you? And that was that. I'm going to let you get into it, but the hypocrisy there, that was so glaring for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just 30 years ago.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
When Bill Clinton did his thing, and I heard Republicans, now when I decided to run as a Democrat, I'd been apolitical my entire adult life, career, military, DOD, Department of State, everything. Was always apolitical. But when I came out and said, I'm running as a Democrat against Marjorie Taylor Greene, I grew up in the rural South. So the vast majority of my friends that I grew up with are Republicans.
Yeah.
And they're like, Marcus, you should be running as a Republican. I always thought you would be a Republican. I was like, no, what made you think that? I never said anything like that.
Yeah.
Right.
30 years apart from, coming out of high school and doing that. But I just remembered that the way you guys railed against Bill Clinton and how immoral he was, yet Trump is somehow your Lord and Savior,
right.
He's the guy that you pick, 3 ex-wives, 2 different kids by 2 different children,
and he's not even smart.
Yeah. Access Hollywood tape. I thought for sure that would have been there.
Girls in the locker, not locker room, but in beauty pageants. What?
Yeah. The 30-minute deposition
you have to do to, say, yeah, what Trump did's okay. I can live with that. But Bill Clinton, that was a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Right. So, and like, to be fair, like, I didn't like Bill, like, I don't like what Bill Clinton did, but to me, it was not worse than Donald Trump's entire life.
No.
And it's not even like he was a repentive person either.
Yeah.
Like, he never repented. In fact, he said they asked him at like an Iowa thing in the 2015 primary, have you ever asked God for forgiveness? And he said no. He said he's never felt like he's
quote a
needed
Bible
to.
verse. Yeah.
I thought, how are these people falling for this man? And so that was kind of I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like, I am on the right side of this situation. I cannot, with my own integrity, vote for Donald Trump. And so if all these Christian leaders, Franklin Graham, who I used to very respect, if all of them are suddenly being like, well, we're not voting for a pastor, we're voting for a president, and God can use anybody. I'm like, okay, well, why can't God use Hillary? You know, and it was just kind of like, I started seeing the hypocrisy. And so then I just asked myself, okay, if I know they're wrong about Trump, what else have they taught me that is also wrong?
There you go.
That's it.
And so then just dominance
makes you question everything.
Everything.
It's you know, we share that. I lost my old man in 2007 from colon cancer, and it was like, that was really when I started questioning everything, because he was so young, never got to retire. I'm like, and he wasn't a bad person, you know, like that was what it's like. If he was a bad person or something like that, you could somehow justify it. But hardworking guy, worked his whole freaking life, got up every day, went to work when he had cancer, was going through chemo still. Like, he was just that guy. Yeah. And then to sit there and watch him suffer the way that he did, and look at that, you're like, how is this?
Right.
I can't rectify my faith with what I'm watching, because if everything I had been taught up to that moment was true, I wouldn't be watching my old man suffer like that.
Right.
You know, and it's like, whether you deemed it your time to take him or not, why did you make him suffer for years? That's the part I don't get. And so just little things like that. And like you said, once there's a little crack and you start questioning one little thing, then it all kind of starts, you know, like spider cracking everywhere. And I tell people all the time, if you go on my social media, you're not going to find me talking about my religion a whole lot, because I'm so political, and there needs to be that separation. It's called faith for a reason. I can't sit here and give you physical proof of the things that I believe in when it comes to God and my religion. And so that's why it's called faith. I have faith that what I believe in is true. And I have faith that one day I'm going to get to see my old man again. But I can't prove to any of you that is in fact going to happen. And that's why we shouldn't be basing, you know, decisions for our entire country and everybody, for atheists, for Muslims, for everybody, off of one religion. It's like, there's so many gods out there. Which God in particular are you people expecting us to pray to? You still haven't told me.
Well, that's the whole thing that gets me, when, you know, you got MAGA and Christian Nationalists saying that this is a Christian nation and it was founded on Christianity. It was not, you know. Several of the founding fathers were either atheists or deists, or didn't, you know, Christianity
not evangelicals,
or definitely not evangelical. You know, and you know, most of them owned slaves as well. So,
but they were also walking away from a monarch that was very based in
exactly.
Yeah, you know,
they're trying to get away from a mad king.
Yep. So it would be understandable that maybe they didn't have that same belief in faith. Yeah.
They wanted freedom of religion and freedom of expression.
Yes.
To be able to, you know, freedom of speech.
That's what they were getting away from.
That's what they were getting away from, all of that. And now it just feels like we're with the rise of Christian nationalism, which it's been coming for a while. People just,
it's always been simmering. Yeah.
It's been simmering. And with Trump, you know, you talk about all those pastors who closed ranks around Trump. It's because they were pushing another agenda. That was the Federalist Society's agenda. It was about getting the courts and overturning Roe and, you know, implementing their agendas. And yet a lot of people who were even involved in that movement, lawyers that were involved in that, finally came to see the light. Like, hey, you know, we sold the American public a bill of goods, and look what we got in return. So,
I got one, April. So what goes through your mind every time you go on social media or do your podcast and you see the photo of Trump sitting in a chair and all these people praying over him, you know, with their hands all on his shoulder, you know, what goes through your mind when you see that?
I think of that verse in the Bible that says, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. I mean, to me, it's people who have traded their faith for power, for proximity to power. I think they're using Trump as much as Trump is using them.
Fact.
So they're kind of, and because Trump is
Maybe
not a
even
Christian
more so.
nationalist, I don't think Trump believes in
So he's not
anything
Christian.
but
So-
himself. Right, exactly. But he tapped into the one group of people that apparently will do whatever it takes in order to have power.
Yeah.
And so, and honestly, it angers me because I grew up being taught to love your neighbor and to love your enemy, and the Beatitudes and the Sermon on the Mount, the teachings of Jesus. And I feel like it was my following the teachings of Jesus that led me away from Christian nationalism.
That's one of the things I've always said is I'm more concerned with the red letters in the Bible than the black letters in the Bible.
Yeah.
Those are the teachings of Jesus. And if you look at the teachings of Jesus, it doesn't sound anything like what we're hearing in Christian nationalism and from MAGA. It just doesn't.
And with Trump, I think it's safe to say that, you can't believe in God when you think you're God. Like this dude thinks he's God. So it's with that said, I want to ask you about, we had Chris on a couple weeks ago and we were talking about the whole Charlie Kirk thing. And so now that we've had a few weeks to really kind of, let this sink in, look at the response from everyone, would you say it's safe to say that there's some serious links between the Charlie Kirk aftermath or response and Christian nationalism? Like, has it been weaponized after the fact?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just his memorial alone was like a Christian nationalist rally. It gave them an excuse to push all their nationalist talking points. And actually, I made a video about this, but I think the Charlie Kirk memorial perfectly illustrates how people get sucked in and stay in Christian nationalism, because it opens with hours of worship, right? There's no political talk at all. It's just about, singing praises to God. They're singing about Jesus. They're singing about love. People are smiling, and there's unity and there's community, and you feel chills because it's music, and music can manipulate your emotions. So you feel this connection to a higher power because of the music. And then they started off, they had the pastors speak at the very front of it. Charlie Kirk's pastor, Rob McCoy, spoke, and he gave a relatively generic gospel message about Jesus gives you salvation, so there's no hint, right? You can be sitting there and think this is just Christianity, right? Towards the end of Rob McCoy's message, he said, Charlie Kirk believed that politics was an on-ramp to Jesus. It's so slight. So slight, but it's there. And then every speaker, as it goes on, gets more and more nationalistic. You have Stephen Miller. Like, before you know it, you're amening Stephen Miller's Nazi-sounding speech, and you're cheering and laughing when you hear a president that says he hates his opponents after they've just spent hours praising a Jesus who famously said to love your opponents.
Love your opponent. Love
right.
Your
And
enemies.
so, but because you've been conditioned and you saw all the good, you saw the worship, that's why you have all these people in the aftermath saying, oh, that was just revival. We have revival coming to this land. But when has revival ever only benefited the powerful and not the marginalized?
Exactly. That's the point. And that is the point. It gets missed every time. And I love the way you wrap that up.
That was perfect.
It starts off innocuous enough that you're just getting scripture and you're hearing the word.
Yep.
Little by little.
It's like the frog in the boiling pot.
Exactly. Exactly. Little by little,
slow.
You start throwing in politics.
Can I just top that off with reminding everybody that the pyrotechnics that you saw at the Charlie Kirk funeral memorial were pretty impressive. I've watched a few memorials over the years: Kobe Bryant, Michael Jackson, James Brown, and you know what? None of them had pyrotechnics at their stuff, which would have been a hell of a lot more appropriate. Just saying.
Yeah, it was an odd touch. But if you're dealing with people that go to Christian nationalist mega churches,
exactly,
that's nothing new.
That is their thing.
Yeah.
It looks like a big old freaking concert every weekend. Oh my gosh. For me, it makes Charlie Kirk even more dangerous because they've based his martyrship so much in this, Christian nationalist identity. And that's what I see them using more than anything else. Like you just said, you can't have Donald Trump out there saying half the country is my enemy. And oh, by the way, Charlie Kirk was this, free speech abolitionist and all this stuff. And you're simultaneously purposely going around getting anybody that said something you didn't like about the guy. And if you weren't like praising him and saying, oh, this is terrible, you're trying to get them fired. You're going to their homes. Like, I got 21 death threats, and Marcus will tell you he saw some of them. I got 21 death threats in the 48 hours after Charlie Kirk died. So that just tells you there was nothing about this man that was peaceful, that was about God or anything. You go watch these videos. He was a vile individual. And if there really is a heaven and a hell, I am 100% certain that dude is down there.
Yeah. I mean, and also,
just saying,
the fact that what I saw is a lot of people who were, especially these people who are saying, I'm Charlie Kirk now.
Oh, God.
Obviously didn't know. They probably just heard the name, but they didn't know what it was that he was preaching and spewing hate and just jumping on a bandwagon because I belong to this community. So I'm going to go out and defend this person. And, oh, that was horrible. And, like moments after you blame.
But I think that's what April said. Like the propaganda that they use is so effective that they'll just spout that and they don't even like you just said, ask them, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
And they just, well, it just means, I believe in what he stood for. Okay. What did he stand for?
Exactly.
Free speech. It's like, well, then why are you coming after me for saying what I think? Like, you just keep asking them those questions and you back them into a corner where they just get mad and they start attacking you like your beard sucks. And it's like, okay,
exactly.
cool.
They're also seeing different clips of Charlie Kirk.
That's a fair point.
Like they're seeing ones that are not politically charged because they're hailing him a Christian martyr.
He wasn't always evil, yeah.
But he was way more known as a political pundit. Like, he came and debated politics. He wasn't really debating Christianity, but he sprinkled enough scripture in a lot of his debates, in his speaking engagements, that because again, in Christian nationalism, the two are connected. Like, your political beliefs and your theology are one and the same. So they can see someone, who is super political. I saw a pastor say, I can't remember, I'm probably going to butcher it, but he was just saying, because like, I believe in a radically inclusive Christ, right? Yes. And so my hope is that when Charlie Kirk went to the gates of heaven, that he was so overwhelmed with the love of God that he realized the error of his ways and all the harm that he caused people. And maybe at the end, at the very last moment, and it doesn't take away the damage that he did, but I think that's why, like, that's what bothers me so much about people that in that world that claim Christian persecution, because they are on a persecution kick right now. But when are they ever gaining any pushback for being too loving, for being too inclusive, for feeding the poor and welcoming the immigrant, which are all teachings of Jesus?
Literally.
Again, the red letters in the Bible. That's the most important part.
But
I'm not seeing that out of Christian nationalism. You made that point so succinctly, April. You don't see that. They never talk about that.
Yeah.
Ever.
And that's my thing. It's the hypocrisy of, I say it all the time, and I know it, it's meant to be kind of red meat for our side. But I always tell them, I was like, you guys realize, like, you Trump Muppets would be the ones that nailed Jesus to the cross and handed the spear to Trump, right? Like, that's literally you people. You would not support the teachings of what that man was walking around saying back then. And maybe if y'all read the Bible, parts of it at least, you would slightly understand that. And it's very clear that religion, particularly Christianity, has become a weapon, not a unifier. And that's where I really struggle, is the religion and the God that I believe in should be a unifier. And I look at families like yours, you being queer, now your spouse, finding out who they are, And it's like, if you believe in God, then I believe God made you all the way that you are. And you should live your life authentically. And it is not in my wheelhouse to judge you or look down on you. And most importantly, make your life more difficult simply because I may personally, and I don't, by the way, but simply because I may think that, something about your lifestyle goes against the Bible that I've misinterpreted.
Right.
That's probably where the foundation of my questioning comes from, is because I've watched them come after, the transgender community, everybody in the LGBTQ community, and, black folks and, immigrants and everybody. It's like, how can you still sit there and say that, like, you believe in God? Like I said, what God do you believe in? Because that's not the same person that I've been influenced by.
But we're called to bear the fruit of Christ, and shows the same grace that we were shown from God.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And if you just try to do those things,
and then Marcus,
a lot of the questions for you.
If we've missed anything before I do this, please jump in and stop me. But the one question I had that I wanted to end on with you here, April, is what would you say is the biggest problem that our country faces? And it doesn't even need to be politically based, but what is the biggest problem you think our country is facing because of Christian nationalism, because of what you've seen growing up in your experience?
I think Christian nationalism is the biggest problem. Like the way, because they have perfectly, and is by design, positioned themselves to where they cannot be critiqued, because if you critique them, they claim Christian persecution. Because to them, it's true Christianity. I mean, they'll say, we're just standing up for quote unquote biblical truth, which is a dog whistle for Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different, there's so many different truths you can get from the Bible. It's not one cohesive worldview. And that's what any scholar will tell you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that they're the biggest danger right now, because they're also not willing to stand up to Donald Trump because they like what he's doing. He's giving them power. But
and they'll overlook a lot for that, won't they?
Yeah, I keep thinking there's a line, and I haven't seen that line yet.
They've gone over 3 or 4 of mine.
One of my things is when you can no longer see daylight between white nationalism and Christian nationalism and Christianity, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah. It's very hard to differentiate between the two right now, or between any of them, I should say.
Between any of them. This is one of the things I keep talking to people about, and I'm going to continue talking to people about it,
Well, and I think that's how we beat it, is by continuing to have these conversations. Don't be quiet just because Donald Trump's threatening everybody.
Right.
Make him put his money where his mouth is. Don't stop talking about it, because I really believe that more and more people are going to start waking up, because it is getting more and more extreme. And we have to appeal to the goodness inside a lot of these people, and that's part of the problem. Is I don't believe most people who are trapped in Christian nationalism or choosing to stay willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
Like, they have good intentions. As weird as that is, they think they're doing what God wants them to do because that's what their pastor is telling them.
Yes.
So we just have to find ways to appeal to their goodness, because they do actually care about humans. They've just been taught that the policies they support that cause human suffering are somehow for a greater good. And so we have to just convince them that that's not a greater good. No. That's just human suffering.
Now, you won't be exempt at the end of the day, because they're going after them, or they that you guys have been so conditioned to, I don't want to use the word hate, but some of it's hate. It kind of fits. But they're going to come after you eventually.
Yep.
Eventually, it's going to be you, whether it's impacting you financially, it's impacting your health care, it's impacting the education that your children get. They're coming after you. Yeah. They're coming after.
They came for the inner city people, and I said nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. that kind of thing. So would you say, April, that it has like they feel like their survival is attached to these politicians?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, there's so many different theology that is wrapped up in it, like biblical end times belief.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the reason why they don't feel the need to try to fix problems now is because they believe in the rapture. I don't know if you saw all the people that thought the rapture was going to happen.
I thought it was yesterday, or not
Still
yesterday.
a lot of
It
traffic
was
around
last
here.
week. It was
Last
the
week,
23rd, 24th. Didn't happen. Now there's a new
Now it's
date.
supposed to be next month or something. I don't know.
Next week.
Next
Next
week.
week?
A real
It's
quick
nuts.
turnaround.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Keeps moving the goalposts, you know.
Yeah.
The Rapture was supposed to be yesterday. But
Hasn't this been happening since like 2000?
It may happen next week because,
It's been
there's
happening forever.
calendars and all kinds of. Make it make sense. I can't. I'm sorry.
But again, I just feel like that's a stupid control thing. Keep them in fear that it's all going to end tomorrow. You know,
Right.
I don't know.
And that works on some people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had to say it works on a lot of people.
It does.
Yep.
So.
Well, April, before we let you go, please, if you have your book, please show it so people
do.
they'll
Right
know what
here.
it looks like when they scan Amazon.
Yeah,
or
it's
wherever.
called Star Spangled Jesus.
Yep.
And there's actually a paperback version that came.
Put it back up. Yeah, there we go.
Star Spangled Jesus, Leaving Christian Nationalism and Finding
Perfect.
a True Faith. And then there's a paperback version that actually just released yesterday, so it's got a little bit of an update at the front. So
On the front. Okay.
Definitely a must
the
read.
front of the book. Yeah.
I like I get hardbacks, everything.
Yeah. There's also an audiobook that I narrate if you like.
Oh, there you go. See,
That's
so
how I
it
like
does,
to
if you don't
read
like to read like a lot of my friends, you can get the
I
audio
can read
book.
it to you.
Yeah, my wife turned me into a book snob. She's like, get the hardback. So that's all I get now. But no, April, thank you so much for coming on. So folks, make sure you go get yourself the book. It's on Amazon and probably I pray the bookstore as well. So go to the bookstore too, buy some books, keep your local bookstore in business.
Thank you,
with that, Marcus, you got anything, brother?
Just thank you for coming on and sharing your story and giving us a little hope that, we can get out of these times. And
There's always hope.
There's always hope.
So come back when you write the next book about how we get out of this.
Hopefully it'll be writing of like, look, we got out.
There you go.
Victory book. Yeah.
But it's going to take a little bit of grace on our side. We're going to have to extend that grace. And, just at the end of the day, remember these are people, like April said,
I think that's the best thing that you said during this conversation is, we've been talking so much about the divisiveness. And you're so right. We have to show grace, and I would even say put our egos aside a little bit and just bring these people in. Like that's really the only way. So that was amazing. Thank you so much for the great conversation. Again, it was a pleasure meeting you. So April Ajoy, everybody, please go get her book and educate yourselves a little bit. And hopefully we'll see you back on the show.
God bless
thanks
you,
for having me.
Thanks, April. All right, everybody. So again, that was April Ajoy. Amazing guest. Marcus was the one that brought her on. So thank you, brother. That was an enlightening conversation.
Great. I enjoyed it.
With that, though, Marcus and I, being the angry veterans that we are, we just wanted to take at least a few minutes and address the debacle of generals and high-ranking military officials that showed up to hear Pete Hegseth give what I can only call a political propaganda speech that probably challenges the likes of something you'd hear from Germany back in 1940 something. Brother, what was your initial reaction when you started seeing those clips?
And when that was about it. I just summed it up right there. But yeah,
you couldn't even hold it in, dude.
Yeah, it's just Jesus H Christ. That was. Me as a non-commissioned officer, if I had to sit through something like that, I would have been like, first of all, what the fuck is this? That would have
we'd have been looking at each other like, is this?
I can only imagine what those flag officers and those most senior enlisted soldiers were thinking. And I know people have seen all of the pictures of,
the
the
ribbon racks that start up
and,
here and end at the belly button. Yeah.
They've seen those pictures with them all sitting there. Okay, that's the professionalism, and I get that. But my goodness, I was just also thinking about not only how bad that was. That could have been an email sent out across the branches. Could have been done.
Not even a long email. Bullet points would have been good.
Exactly, but the security nightmare of gathering all of those flag officers, all of them, bro, to one place to talk about heightened weight standards, wear and appearance in the military uniform. Are you kidding me?
Which they all looked shit hot. Like all their stuff was pressed, and
are you kidding me?
I didn't see one dirtbag in any of the photos.
And for Trump to come in and give a partisan rambling rally speech to the generals talking about sending soldiers to kill Americans
and training the military in American cities,
using the military, posse comitatus be damned, and also talking about screwing the Geneva Convention, let's commit war crimes. Are you kidding me?
Literally.
This is where we are right now. I can only imagine what those senior NCOs and flag officers were thinking, how appalled they were at. Sorry, everybody, I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold now, but yeah,
he's got the funk.
Jeez.
How many? I think we've got a few videos for those who may not know what the heck we're talking about. I think we've got a video of Trump
up there,
and I think we've got one of Hegseth. But
only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But we are under invasion from within. We're stopping it very quickly.
That's insane.
My goodness.
And can I
the shirt I'm wearing right now, this is the oath that we swear. Mark's Flowers do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true allegiance to the same, and to follow the orders of the President of the United States and the officers
lawful orders
over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Everyone sitting in that room swore that oath.
Yep.
And many a soldier, unfortunately, has faced consequences because they followed orders that were not in keeping with regulations in the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
That's a good reminder is these military individuals, they can be prosecuted later.
Absolutely.
If it's found that they break laws. Absolutely. And also, again, if we have a military that is literally saying, crumple up the Geneva Convention and throw that aside so you can just do whatever you deem necessary, that's a big problem, not just nationally, internationally. Because you bet your ass that when everybody heard that on the world stage yesterday, that NATO and everybody else's ears perked up and went, I'm sorry, what'd you just say?
You can still be prosecuted for following orders.
Yep. Lawful orders. Lawful orders. Those are the ones you listen to. And that's the other thing too, when you have somebody like Donald Trump who literally says it, like it's not like we're guessing. He's like, I don't care about if it doesn't help me and doesn't affect me, I don't care. Like he's literally said that. Which is why it'll never make sense to me that you put a man who doesn't care about anybody else but himself and his own good interests. You put him thinking that he's going to take care of us. He literally stood on stage a few days ago and said that me, Marcus, and everybody else on the left are his enemy.
Right.
And now he's saying that he's sending in the military to places like Portland and telling them that they are authorized to use full force. Marcus, for those who may not know, what does full force mean?
Oh, that means you're engaging
With
combatant enemy.
using
Lethality.
Thank you.
Extreme violence.
And then going on to say that we need to start training the people that he is sending into American cities and giving full force authorization to. We need to start training them in American cities. And when he says American cities, I want you to really understand what he meant. He meant inner cities.
Inner cities.
And when he says train, he means let's go into all the inner cities and take care of it.
Well, let's go a little bit deeper than that.
Please.
He's basically telling, if you believe the governor of Oregon when he says people are exercising their constitutional rights to protest peacefully.
Yep.
So he's basically telling the military to go out and open fire on peaceful protesters.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like to me.
And do you remember what the dry run was for this?
Oh, Washington, D.C.
When they gassed all the people out there for the stupid photo op. That was the dry run.
That was the dry run.
Yep.
Sending troops into Washington, sending troops to L.A. Now we're talking about doing it in Chicago, Portland, and other Democrat-led cities.
Yep.
They're all dry runs until shots start being fired.
And that's the one thing I hate. I don't want to label it fear-mongering because, unfortunately, I think it is our reality.
No, it's the reality. It's not fear-mongering. This is what they're talking about doing.
So, be prepared, everybody. I don't know any other way to say it. We have to be prepared for what's coming. They pulled all those generals in there to try to do two things. One, they wanted to gauge what the reaction would be. And two, they wanted to show that they were in charge. Pete Hegseth was trying to flex his little muscles.
It was a photo op. That's what they wanted.
That too. I mean, it was a propaganda push. It was literally so that they could get those viral clips of Pete Hegseth saying all the things he said. Like that was the whole point of it.
Wanted it to go, but
yeah, there was no benefit there. And let me ask you this one, Marcus. Now, in the military, we are all taught, discipline. Somebody walks in the room like the president, you stand up, sit down, all that stuff. But when we go into those type of areas for, roll call meetings, whatever, briefings, if somebody comes in like that and they start getting everybody riled up, they are allowed to clap.
No, you can. Of course you can.
We do. We make noise. We clap if it's something that we like.
You can clap at commander's call if you want to. I mean,
thank you. Because everybody's like, oh, they weren't supposed to clap. They could have if they wanted to.
If they wanted to.
If they really, when he ended that, and if they really bought into what he was saying, they would have been riled up. And now, when you get somebody that comes in and gives you a speech, and again, I know you've experienced this. Somebody walks in and they give you a speech, and it leaves you feeling ready to go like tear down walls for them.
In the Army.
Yep. So it's like that's what he was expecting. And instead, he got everybody in that room that was all, by the way, every single individual in that room was more qualified for Pete Hegseth's job than Pete Hegseth.
Every single one.
Every single one. And a matter of fact, I'm glad I said that because I wanted to read a few things before we stop talking about this clown. So Pete Hegseth, what I found interesting was, in January of 2021, he was barred from participating in inauguration security duty for the National Guard due to a colleague flagging a tattoo, and I'm not going to read the name of it so we don't get flagged, as potentially problematic. But it is a German saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
exactly. So are we dealing with a butthurt sec death who wants to air grievances because he knows that everyone knows that he's woefully inadequate for the position that he's in?
Yeah. And and then on top of it, he had, oh man, I'm going to say, because they did it was in Congress, so whatever. It's already on the record. Apparently, this dude had a kid outside of wedlock and all this other shit. And you can literally go watch it. The congressman is like reading him for filth.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to trust you with our military, and your spouse can't even trust you.
Right.
Like, that was the essential part of it. Mm-hmm. And it was like, he had no response to that. And if you go watch that clip, and it's on my Instagram, by the way, if you go watch that clip of him being read for filth in Congress, and then go watch the clip of him saying that they're going to get rid of the IG because, of frivolous complaints and ruining people's careers. He's talking about himself.
He's talking about himself there.
He's literally talking about himself.
And because he was butthurt about things that happened to him during his military career.
Yep.
The fact that he reminds me of the little butter bar that comes in and, isn't quite up to snuff, and he gets a bunch of disciplining.
Yep.
Yeah. And he finally
or that tells the master sergeant, tries to tell him something. Yeah. It's like, dude, you've been here 2 years.
Yeah.
Calm down. Calm down, buddy. And again,
he has that energy about him still to this day.
He really does.
Like he's got something to prove, I mean, we know you're not qualified for that job.
No.
We know that.
No.
So,
he never commanded anything large. His first deployment was to Guantanamo Bay. So he was guarding detainees. And I'm sure he was probably one of the people that used to go into the cell and start yelling, stop resisting, when they were beating the crap out of him for no reason. That seems like something Pete Hegseth would have done. And then his final deployment, he was a freaking instructor. Yeah. He was a fucking instructor. Like, he makes it sound like he was going and kicking doors down in Iraq, and no, he wasn't. Like, and on top of it, he wasn't even a full-time soldier. He was in the Guard. So the rest of the time, he was going and being a stupid ass on Fox News and kicking
reserves while I was in college, and then went active duty. But I mean, if you had any doubt that Pete Hegseth was unqualified to be the SecDef, after yesterday, that should have removed all doubt.
Yeah.
Calling all general officers of the military.
Honestly, Congress should be acting after yesterday.
To Washington or Quantico for that meeting.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's like, I really feel like Congress should be doing something after that.
It should be. There should
be he literally said, we're going to throw the Geneva Convention out the window.
There's going to be a complete and full investigation. And generals shouldn't follow any of these orders. I know some of them will grapple with the things that were said and ultimately capitulate, but I have to believe that the vast majority of those general officers in that room will say, screw these guys.
If you had to
we're going to do our job.
If you had to personally put a percentage on it, how many do you think are going to abide by that oath on your shirt over Donald Trump?
At least 90%, I would say.
I wish I was that confident. I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right.
I pray you're right.
I hope I'm right.
Because for everybody out there, like, you go online and I'm tweeting out what I think, and unfortunately I haven't been wrong a whole lot leading up to this. Just got to say that. But I also have to premise it with you guys need to understand that I pray every day that I'm wrong. Yeah. Because if I'm right, then we're headed in a really bad place, and it's going to cost American lives.
I think we're in a bad place after yesterday, but
it sure feels like
I have to believe that the vast majority of these general officers will do the right thing.
Yeah. These are people that have dedicated their lives,
all of their
to the military, 20, 30, 35 plus years.
40 years.
Yeah.
These guys.
These guys that have those large ribbon racks, they've been doing this a while, and they've probably been through more than Pete Hegseth has. So I don't think
medals. These are combat vets, who've seen multiple campaigns. And,
a lot of Purple Hearts in that room.
A lot of Purple Hearts, a lot of Silver Stars. These are professional soldiers. And
They didn't
behaved
take that
way.
well.
They behaved that way yesterday.
They did.
Anxiety.
I'll give it to them. They did handle it the way they should have.
Exactly.
I think the lack of one clap when he was done, I think that was louder than any other statement that they probably could have made.
I heard the giggles a little bit after.
Of course, there's going to be a few giggles. There's always a few.
You can get up and walk out. Also, that'd be your career and your rank. You know, they kind of laughed at that. You know,
but more of a nervous giggle, like.
So I mean, I get that, but I think they handled it the right way.
Like you said, the fact that I don't remember hearing one clap.
There weren't any.
So it wasn't like there was 2 or 3 or 4 even that were like, yay. No, nobody. By the time they were done and Pete Hegseth was done saying everything he said, I think everybody in that room was like, no.
I'm sure they were pissed.
Yeah. Oh,
especially
they were pissed just the fact they had to be there.
Officers that had come from overseas.
They were mad. They just had to be there. And I just want to end it on this too, to remind people of this. Now that the government is shut down, that there is a distinct possibility that some of those generals got stuck in DC because they can't use their travel cards.
No. Yeah.
You thought they were pissed before.
Just wait. And let this shutdown go more than 30 days. A lot of people will be pissed.
So that's what I want to ask you to end the show today. What is your prediction for this shutdown?
So I was thinking maybe a week or 2, but I think it could go longer. And the longer it goes, the more Republicans and Trump own it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, up until now, they've been trying to blame it on the Democrats. Oh, this is a Democratic shutdown. That falls to the wayside the longer this goes.
Yeah.
You get past a week, you know, people don't really notice. You start going, yeah, exactly. You start getting into Halloween, yeah, and it becomes a problem. It becomes a real problem. But my gut instinct tells me that this doesn't go longer than 2 weeks, but I could be wrong.
That's
a long time.
2 weeks is a long time.
2 weeks is a long time for people.
Every day is
that's a paycheck.
Yep.
Officials like myself. So you missed the whole pay period.
Yeah. So I can't be a hypocrite. I'm glad they shut it down. And I said, shut this bitch down, because I don't know what else to do. And we've talked on this show about the list of nonviolent ways for us to end what is happening is becoming shorter and shorter as the months go on. And these are the type of tools, unfortunately, I'm not saying this with glee, that we need our elected officials to be using right now. Don't capitulate. Don't fold. Stay the course. We're here now. Let's finish the job. Stay the course. You have my support.
Make no mistake about it. Republicans own this.
Yep.
They control the House, the Senate, the presidency.
Make them own it.
Supreme Court. They own all of it. This is theirs. So either sit down at the table and do the hard thing, which is govern, or you make
keep it shut down.
What do you want to do?
Yep. And I also remind folks of this before we go too. There's a very distinct possibility that Congress will pass some kind of resolution to make sure that like our military still gets paid, while we figure all this out. So there is still the possibility of that happening. I do have some hope that they can at least get that done, but we'll see.
Republicans aren't even there. Democrats are there. Republicans are out. They're gone.
Yep. So. They don't want to, they don't want to do anything. And the fact that Trump brought Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer into the office and had his Trump 2028 hat spread across the Resolute desk just infuriated me.
Yeah.
Like I wanted, what was the one representative, Mike Johnson, came and like put a piece of paper in front of her and she instantly grabbed it, got up and walked back and threw it right in front of him. I was like, what? When you guys walked in, you should have picked up those hats and threw it in his face and fucking walked out. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Democrats would have ate that shit up. It would have gone viral. But nope, they
Just
sat
not
there like the
walked
good
in.
little
So as soon as they
boys.
see him on the desk, like, no, you're not getting any photos with me with your MAGA bullshit.
Thank you. You felt the same way then.
That happened. Yeah. I felt the same way. Yeah.
Like, I was like, I would have turned around and walked out. No,
Like, these guys aren't serious. Let's go.
You're using me for a photo op. No, either take those hats off the desk and we'll talk, we'll negotiate, or
I say it every day.
Or y'all
Government
can come to my
serious
office.
business for serious people.
they're not
You're
serious.
Minority leader, and you're pulling that kind of stunt. I'm walking right out as soon as the door opens and I see that on the table.
Yep.
You're not being serious. Call me
And
when you're ready to talk.
And then before they even walked out the door, they've got some, racist AI bullshit with Akeem Jeffries already up on social media. It's like, guys, stop talking to these people. They've labeled us a domestic terrorist organization.
Yeah.
Like, literally. And by the way, if Democrats had done what the hell they should have freaking done, we would have labeled MAGA a domestic terrorist organization after January 6th because we actually had justification to do so. I have yet to see any valid justification to label the left or Antifa, which isn't an actual organization with freaking membership cards, unlike Turning Point USA. They have membership cards. Yeah. That could be a domestic terrorist organization, and I argue it probably should be. Either way.
Because they get to make anybody they want to be Antifa.
There you go. And he's already said it on the stage. The video we just watched. Oh, it's so hard to see them because they don't wear uniforms. You're right. They're going to be wearing gray polos with these kind of hats. Yeah. That's what they're going to be wearing. Wake up, people. Because Marcus and I, we're not the enemies here. We're the ones on the middle of the highway waving our arms in the air going, stop, please. Like,
about to run off a cliff.
Exactly. What else do you need to see from this man and from this administration to act? Like, he should already be getting impeached. And if Republicans had a backbone, we would already be having the 25th Amendment and boot this dude out. Like, any way necessary, get him out of the Oval Office immediately, and preferably before we build that stupid-ass ballroom.
Yeah.
And with that,
hey,
you got anything, bro?
Hell of a show today.
Yes.
Thank you guys for joining us.
And
always,
thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yep, and I appreciate you, brother. And a big shout out again to April Ajoy. Please make sure you go check out her book, Star Spangled Jesus, Leaving Christian Nationalism and Finding a True Faith, which you can find on Amazon and, of course, in a bookstore. As she said, there's hard copy, and she also has a updated soft cover, which she says has some new little art and stuff on it. So please go support her because she's out here, fighting the fight from a different angle, but it's still an angle that we all need to support and pay attention to. So April Ajoy, thank you again for joining us on the show, Marcus. As always, brother, pleasure. We'll see you all next Wednesday.
Likewise. See you next week, gang.